Welcome to the Old Man and the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 214. Jarrett Allen. Jarrett, Tommy, just a phenomenal young man.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe him.
Awesome guy.
Awesome guy.
Awesome player. The way I would describe him is he's lovely. He's a lovely human being. That's how I would describe him.
This was a fun conversation. We got into a bunch of stuff. The draft is back. That draft is presented by New Era. Very excited about that. We had a fun one with that. Lots of banter, Ryan Cohen. Lots of banter on this week's draft. Okay? Lots of banter. That's all I'll say. We want to get real quick before we get to Jarrett. We want to get into our DraftKings Sportsbook segment. Look, on Monday's episode, I talked a lot about the Boston Celtics. Again, we only get to talk about three things. We talked about the Celtics, the Nuggets, and what was our third thing? Oh, the Toronto Raptors. I want to talk about the Eastern Conference right now. I said this on Monday. It feels like the Boston Celtics have separated themselves, not just in the standings, but with how they're playing right now. I do think there's a number of teams that we can make an argument for or speculate could still win the Eastern Conference. So I want to get into all this. I want to actually start with the Milwaukee Bucks. They are 5-7 since Doc Rivers took over, but the defense is trending in the right direction. They are 10th in defense since Doc took over, and their offense has gone the other way. They're 21st in offense. But here's what I'm excited about: their pick and roll defense. They were a bottom 10 team in pick and roll under Adrian Griffin. They are a top 5 team in pick and roll on defense. And you know what it comes down to? They are switching almost 25% more, actually more than 25% more. They're switching on defense more in pick and roll, which I find fascinating.
Is it more the switching? Because I was going to ask about this, just the half-court D in general. Is it more the switching and less where they're putting Brook?
Well, here's what's interesting. So Brook primarily is still in a drop and all that stuff. But here's what's interesting. If you think about the philosophy around trying to create turnovers, right? The ball, and the numbers back this up, the ball is going to get by the defender more if you're not creating those turnovers, right? Their blow-by percentage went up. What happens on a blow-by? What happens in a pick and roll where there's not pressure on the ball? You end up in rotation. And so if you're switching and you're staying on the ball and you're playing a flatter defense, there's not as many opportunities to put 2 on the ball and then be in rotation. Think about all the time, especially early on. Like, I don't want to belabor this point, but they were 40 feet away from the basket, putting 2 on the ball in pick and roll. And that led to 4-on-3s. So it's a simpler defense. They're switching with the right personnel at a much higher rate. I'm a firm believer that if this team defensively is good enough, they don't have to be great, and they've been pretty damn good since Doc took over. If they're good enough, offensively, Doc's gonna figure out how to maximize this offense. He did that with the Clippers team. He did that with James and Joel. He's going to figure out how to maximize this offense at some point.
And you're betting on 2 Hall of Famers,
of course,
and Chris Middleton. I mean, these are guys that are going to be able to get there. The numbers. I wanted to shout out Nathan Marzione, who covers the Bucks. He did a big breakdown on Brook in particular today. Milwaukee has a 102 defensive rating when Brook is playing since the firing. Lopez has a 43.7 field goal percentage against him in this window. It was 48% before.
He's third for the season in opponent field goal percentage in the restricted area. Third in the entire NBA. He's having a great defensive year.
Yeah.
It's not reflected overall in the team numbers, but Brook, by and large, has been Brook.
So I wanted to ask about the Knicks as well, because the Knicks are 23-2 versus teams below 500, and they're 12-21 against teams that are above 500. And I'm not saying the Knicks don't have a shot to, make a run in the Eastern Conference or whatever it is. But with a team like Milwaukee, whenever they play a top team, you see it. They go and they smack Denver. They smack Minnesota the other night. Whenever they play a top team, you see what they can be. And so is there something with this team a little bit of like they've been there before and they're taking too many games off because they know that they are they know that they have the ability to turn it on once it gets to early May, mid-May?
Well, here's how I would look at it. I think when they were 30-13 under Griffin, it didn't feel visually like they were a really good basketball team. So despite the fact that they were winning, it didn't feel and look like a really good basketball team. They win their first game with an interim coach. Then Doc comes in, they're 5 and 7 cents. And like, I'll say this, like, Doc did take over in the middle of the season. He did take over in the middle of a road trip. That's hard to do. It's obviously hard to do. I think there was a little bit of an overreaction to the Bucks as title contenders. You think back to opening week of the season, them and the Boston Celtics had the best odds, plus 180, both to win the Eastern Conference. Celtics sit at plus 115 right now, and the Bucks are at plus 700, which is the third best odds. I'm looking at the Bucks and I'm thinking to myself, this is easily a team that can not only win the Eastern Conference, but win an NBA championship. Like, they have Giannis and they have Dame. They have a guy who's won a championship as a coach. Brook has been great. Chris Middleton has been great. Malik Beasley has shot the shit out of the ball. Their starting lineup for this season, not under Doc, not under Griffin, not under Prunty, for this season has like a net rating of like 15. They're a fucking good team.
Let me ask you about the Boston matchup. We don't want to get too much into it because you just covered it on Monday, but we've talked ad nauseum about Porzingis and the impact that he's had.
Yeah.
With Porzingis in particular and this defense humming at Bud levels, how do you think they would approach a matchup like Porzingis in the playoffs? Because that's obviously something that they haven't had to face before, and it's we haven't seen them play them since the new regime. So it's like where they're gonna sort of approach this differently with him.
They'd cross match. They put Giannis on Porzingis, switch across the board there, and they'd put Brook Lopez on Drew, which a number of teams have done this season. The only thing with that, we talked about this the other day. Drew has had sort of a different experience game to game. When he played for Milwaukee, he was the primary ball handler. He was a shot creator. He was a distributor, but he had the ball in his hands. This has been a different thing for him. Depending on matchups, he's been a spacer, and he's shot the shit out of the ball this year, but he's been a spacer at times. He's over in the corner. Sometimes he's a screener. He's not the primary guy, right? Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics know this. He's the guy that a lot of teams are cross-matching the big on, so that they can switch with Porzingis. Now, the only thing with that I'll say, again, is that when Kristaps Porzingis gets a mismatch, he's having the most efficient post-up season in NBA history, well, in the tracking era of the NBA, going back to 2013, 2014. So you still run into some issues. It's not like, oh, we're going to switch across the board and all our issues against the Boston Celtics are solved. There's still a lot to be done. But I think to answer your question, that's how they would start that series, I would assume, is just cross-matching.
The net rating stuff with Porzingis is crazy. The Porzingis Tatum White 15.2, Porzingis Brown White 14.9. Like,
they're good. Doing the game the other day, it's like they can always have like 2 or 3 guys that are just all-stars on the floor. Like, that's how deep they are. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we're gonna take Brown and Tatum out. Okay, we can still put Al Horford, Derek White, Porzingis, Sam Hauser, Drew Holiday. It's like, it's crazy.
It's probably too early to have this conversation as it's, February, but when you look back at the Porzingis trade and you look at the fact that they got the only 2 first-round picks in that trade plus him, are we gonna look back at that and be like, this is one of the more lopsided trades in recent NBA history?
There's a good chance. I don't know the specifics of the Memphis pick situation and which year they are and how they're protected. I do know that Memphis was holding on to a lot of picks. And it was a 3-team deal, right? So there's a lot of moving parts to that. So again, I said this on the broadcast the other night. I think Brad Stevens knows what he's doing.
It's maybe don't trade Brad Stevens.
I think he knows what he's doing.
The other team I wanted to ask about in the East, who's won 9 of the last 11, is the Heat.
Yeah. It's hard to parse through data with them. So I don't want to parse through data. They've had zero continuity. They traded Lowry. Rozier then, sprains his knee. When this team is whole and healthy, they are a contender in the Eastern Conference, and they're certainly a contender to win an NBA championship. I think there's I don't know if it's corporate knowledge, but there's a substance to their team when you get into April and May. They know how to win. They know how to make adjustments. Jimmy turns it on. I think the biggest thing for them is health. And I do believe in some ways I'd like to see some level of continuity once all these guys are back from injury. But Bam's playing great. He's having another elite two-way season. Jaquez Jr. now is back to playing like he was playing prior to his injury. He really kind of struggled a little bit after he got back from his groin injury. They're just getting, Kevin Love last night with a fucking big contribution. There's just no bullshit with their team. It's just like, we're going to figure out a way to be in a game and try to win. That's what you need in the playoffs.
Did you see what Spo said about Jaquez after the game?
Last night?
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
He basically said, because Jaquez was used to playing all these different roles in college, it set him up perfectly for how they operate, where it's just like, one night we need you to score 20 in the second half, and one night we don't need you at all. And either way, you know how to fit in, which is so rare for a rookie.
Spo told us this like during a couple of the coaches meetings we've had this year, where he's like, we asked him about Jaquez and just, him fitting into the Heat culture. And he said, I'm doing the finals. I'm not paying attention to the draft. I think there was, whatever it was, 7 to 10 days between the end of the finals because it was a 5-game series and the draft. And so he's like, I started my draft stuff and, we know where we're slotted. And I start going through the guys, and literally everybody in the organization is like, Jaquez Jr., he's a Heat guy. He's a Heat guy, right? And he is a Heat guy. He is a Heat guy. It's hard, some of this stuff, obviously Philadelphia started this season at plus 750. They're at plus 1200 now to win the Eastern Conference. It's hard with them. They're sort of a team that you're waiting to see what happens with Joel Embiid. The Knicks, again, you're waiting to see them get healthy. But those two teams, I think right now, the Bucks and the Heat are certainly teams that could potentially win the Eastern Conference. And the other team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are playing great basketball. We last week on the show, we dove into a bunch of the metrics with them. Listening to Jarrett Allen talk, we'll sort of let you guys listen to what he has to say about the lessons learned from that New York Knicks series and sort of where he sees this team with the additions of shooting. Max Strus, George Niang, of course, Sam Merrill, and Dean Wade. So like, they're another team. I think we're in the Western Conference. It's like, fuck, dude, you could talk me into 27 different scenarios. The East, it's 5 or 6 teams. It's 5 or 6 teams.
I have one question before we get to Jarrett we have not talked about, which is a little separate. What's your feeling on court storming?
Court storming?
Because this has been a big topic of discussion of whether this should be banned.
I'm kind of indifferent towards it, to be honest with you. I'm indifferent.
Did you ever have any experiences with it that were bad?
So this, every road game I lost in college,
it would storm.
The court was stormed.
I can imagine.
My last road game in college was at Florida State, and they stormed the court. And there was a couple students that came up to me, and Wojo, he like grabbed me and ushered me off the court in a very violent way. That was the only time I've ever felt like any issue. Like, I think in some ways, like there's a tradition to it where it's part of being a college student. I don't think we really stormed the court at Duke. That's okay. It's a whole nother story.
It's a different conversation.
This is a different conversation.
That's a different conversation.
They've got the ropes ready and the security guards.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen at Duke. But I'm fine with it. I don't care. It's just like, how many court stormings has there been? How many times as a team or a student section stormed the field after an upset in college football? And I'm very empathetic with Filipowski and Caitlin Clark, what has happened this year, but I'm also like, they're in some ways aberrations, right?
Yeah.
They're anomalies. It's not. I think it's part of the experience.
It's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Now, can we, if it's not like an end game situation where it's like, you're down 1 or you're down 2, can we prepare a little bit? If like as soon as the buzzer sounds, they're going to storm the court because it's a 6-point game with 1.2 seconds when you take the ball out of bounds. Like, yeah, we could probably get the players off the court a little quicker. There's certain things that they could do to make it better. Maybe there's a 10-second delay. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, by all means, storm the court.
Yep.
I'm an old man when it comes to stuff. You know this.
No, I mean,
I'm not
that's
with
why
this.
I was curious because I wasn't sure what was coming with this, but I think the way you said it is perfectly said. It's what brings the energy to these games.
Yeah.
And so you have to get the players off, especially when it's Caitlin Clark, who's the biggest thing in one of the biggest things in sports right now, period. She can't get run over by some idiot fan.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like, it is what makes these things fun. And so there has to be some sort of happy medium.
Yeah, I agree. This has been our DraftKings Sportsbook segment. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code JJ. New customers who deposit $5 or more can get a no-sweat bet up to $1,000 back in a bonus bet if your first bet loses, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. One no-sweat bet per new customer. Issued as one bonus bet based on amount of initial losing bet. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/promos for deposit, wagering, and eligibility restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Let's get to one of our new favorite people, Jarrett Allen. Let's go. All right, let's welcome in Jarrett Allen. Jarrett, you know what I love about, first of all, shout out to your guy, JB. Love him. We love Donovan. You guys are having a great season. Also, shout out to BJ, who runs your guys' PR and comms. Big fan of his. I told him you were coming on the show. And what I find fascinating, Tommy, this guy's been an all-star, and not a lot of people know a lot about Jarrett Allen. So we're excited to get into you. What is an off day? Today's an off day for you back in Cleveland. What does that look like for you?
Appreciate you having me. Off day. Let's see. I've been trying to get back into cooking a little bit. So I went to the grocery store. It's been a while since I've been there. So cook a meal for me and my fiance and kick my feet up, watch a movie, call it a day.
What'd you cook?
I'm going to do some breaded chicken, some maple carrots, and some au gratin potatoes. Trying to ramp my game up.
I love it. We're recording this on Monday, February 26th. About a week after the All-Star game. Jarrett, do you feel like you should have been an All-Star this year? I want to get into this whole turnaround this season, but that's actually the point I want to start because you mentioned the cooking. I don't know how many people, NBA fans, know that you love cooking, you love baking. Right. You're very into STEM, all this stuff. There's no self-promotion with you. I will promote you a little bit if you want. But I'm curious your own thoughts about whether or not you felt like you should have been an all-star this year.
I don't like answering those questions because I feel like everybody feels like they should have been an all-star in some type of way. But I think I could have had my name called somewhere in there.
JJ, do you think Jarrett should have been an all-star?
There's a strong case to be made to be on the original list. I thought once we had two injuries with Embiid and Randall, I thought he was for sure going to be an all-star. I thought for sure.
Jared, he has said this on the show at least once since the All-Star voting has concluded. He has been a big supporter of you being on that team, just for the record.
Appreciate it. Yeah, every year there's snubs. Every year somebody should have made it,
I agree. I think, though, it's for me, so at your position, there's a few guys that are sort of anomalies, right? Certainly Joel, Jokic. I'm not going to try to leave anybody out here. I'm not forgetting. I'm using examples here where it's like you can run the offense. Sabonis is another one. Run the offense through, they're going to post up, high usage, all that stuff. Then there's another anomaly where it's like Brook Lopez, where, he'll post mismatches. Kristaps is the same way. He'll post mismatches, but he's like a pick and pop five that also rim protects. I think for the modern five, you are the perfect modern five. Outside of the anomalies, to a degree, you are an anomaly. But you're your skill set is just perfect. You could sort of put you on any team, and it's perfect. Your development, specifically in the short roll, in the pocket, making plays, scoring out of that. When did you start feeling comfortable making plays in the pocket?
Right. I wouldn't say till I I would say when I got to Cleveland, I started being in the short roll and passing more. Like my time in Brooklyn, I feel like that was a big development piece for me. Working with Brett Bromeyer, I mean, we would work on the basics every single day, whether it's catching the ball, making the right passes. And then when I finally got to Cleveland, I finally got to show it off and put everything together at game speed.
So we want to be more specific here, making the right passes. So in that short roll,
Right.
Obviously, if there's a dive to the rim, you have the size, the length, the athleticism to finish there.
Right.
Can you just describe for like the listener what the right passes are out of that short roll? So you're in a high pick and roll, you catch a little bounce pass in the pockets. What are your reads?
There's a certain order to it that I always learn. Always score the ball first. That's the first. If the man helps, it's the pass to the corner. And then if that's not open, it's the high quadrant pass. And after that, I'm shooting the ball. Everybody's not open. It's my time to shine.
I feel like you know what is so funny to me about you describing those options? Those progressions are the same way people learn and develop. Meaning this, every big guy, when he goes to learn pick and roll and starts in the NBA, he can catch and he can finish. Then he starts seeing, oh shit, like there's a low man sometimes that helps. I got to start kicking to the corner. Then when that becomes automatic, that corner pass starts getting intercepted by the X guy. And then he's got to be like, oh, now I got to find the right quadrant or the left quadrant, the high quadrant, and make that pass. So you learning it in that way is fascinating to me because I feel like that's how everyone sort of develops those reads out of the short roll.
That's exactly. You start turning the ball over and realize I can't kick it to the corner every time. So you have to look for somebody else.
Is there something about the personnel in Cleveland that made this adjustment easier?
I would say it's just my role. In Brooklyn, being a rookie and a sophomore, I didn't really get the ball much. I mean, I'm just learning. And then KD and Kyrie came. That's a whole nother animal in itself. And then finally in Cleveland, they were hitting me in the short roll. They wanted to run the offense through me more. And especially like years like this year, we got like Max Strus in the corner, Dean Wade, Georges Niang, like people that are knockdown shooters.
I talked a ton last year about the lack of shooting in that fifth guy. When you guys play your core four together, right? Darius, Donovan Mitchell, you, and Evan Mobley. It felt like last year, not that any of those guys are bad players, but you know this as well as anyone. In the NBA, it's all about fit, right? There wasn't that fifth piece that fit. And obviously, Dean Wade was on the team last year. But with Niang and Strus, it feels like it fits more. Your assists, by the way, you're averaging a career high in assists, 2.7 for the year. It was even higher when Mobley and Garland were out. And it sounds like when you talk about sort of this team's turnaround, as much as it has been you and as much as it has been Mitchell, it's been those lesser-known players like Dean and Isaac Okoro and Max and Georges Niang.
Yeah, I hold a lot of stock in guys like Isaac and Dean. On the defensive end especially, I mean, I know we're talking about offense, but on the defense, they really saved us in a lot of moments. But even on the offensive end, Isaac has been an excellent shooter. Like in this season, I feel like every year his shooting gets better. Dean, he's still knocking down shots every now and then. It really changes our offense for the better.
Were you surprised at all at how well you did without Darius and Evan? I mean, you guys lost once in the month of January, and you were just steamrolling teams. It wasn't like you were just beating them by 2 or 3 points.
Yeah, I'm supposed to say no. I'm not surprised, but I think everybody in the NBA was surprised about how well we came out and handled business.
Could you talk about that from like a personal standpoint? So there's expectations coming into the year. You guys make the playoffs last year. For Evan and Darius, it's their first experience in the playoffs. You lose in the first round.
Right.
You pick up 2 guys in free agency that fit. Karras is back. Okoro's back. And there's like these expectations, and you get off to a slow start, and then Darius is going to miss some time. Evan's going to miss some time. You're sitting there at 13 and 12. You mentally, that natural letdown. What is that like, and what's going through your head in that moment?
Right. It's a big blow to the team. Like, two of your starters going down for, at that point, we didn't know how long. It's like, what are we going to do? How are we going to fill the points, the defense? How are we going to keep the season alive, basically? And I always give credit to everybody else. Like I always say, Dean and Isaac, they really stepped up in the moment because they had to take the starting roles. And like you said, we were rolling, very passing the ball, keep the ball moving. And that time we found our identity.
What was JB's message at the time to the team?
Just keep playing. Next man up. That's always been our thing since I got to Cleveland. Next man up. Keep playing. Even though we're down, people just still go out there and enjoy basketball. Like, I know we got nothing to lose. Just go out there and have fun.
I think honestly, one of the underrated parts of being an NBA coach is coaches that can manage crises. And
Right.
Injuries to Evan and Darius and a slow start. In some ways, that is a crisis. In your time in Cleveland, how have you seen JB as a coach evolve and mature and get better?
When I got there, let's be honest, Cleveland was one of the laughing stocks of the NBA. It's like, you go into Cleveland, that's a game off. And then for JB to turn that around, like basically go from a developmental coach with having young players and now having to turn into a coach that needs to win in the playoffs and will win in the playoffs. He's done an excellent job transitioning while, in my opinion, still maintaining the respect of the whole team.
Now that you're a year and a half in with Donovan, what do you see from him just as his teammate that you didn't understand about him when you were just an opponent?
Especially now, he can pass. That dude can pass. The way he finds people on the short roll, find me in the short roll, people in the corner. We all know he was a scorer. He was a defender coming out of college, and then he just stopped defending once he started scoring. He knows that. He can find anybody on the passes.
Was that real shade at his defense?
Love it. No, but he's been a great defender. He's number 3 in steals this year?
Yeah, he's been great this year. I think it feels like he should be more in the MVP convo, don't you think? I know JJ and I, we try to not talk about the MVP stuff too much on the show, but he should be in it.
We passed the 50-game mark. We can talk about it all you want. We can. Right. I know Jarrett's gonna. God, well, you know what? Here's the thing. This drives me crazy, Jarrett. Okay, This drives me crazy, and I've done this once before on the show. And I'll just real quick. Anybody is allowed to be in the NBA MVP combo. We can say this guy should be in the great. Then put him in the fucking combo. I'm happy to talk about him as an MVP candidate. He's not in my top 4 right now. It doesn't mean he shouldn't be in the combo. If you want to have him outside the top 4 and to talk about him as a potential MVP, great. Not a knock on Donovan Mitchell. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I voted him first team All-NBA last year. Like, fuck, dude. He's a great player.
It's true.
Right.
He's a great player. You know what, though? I think to your point about the defense, I remember, he obviously had a big summer league, but I remember defensively, just the tenacity, the on-ball, point of attack defense.
Right.
And he stepped into this role that I had no idea he was going to have in his rookie year with Utah. Remember early on, we played in Utah, my first year in Philly. So Gordon Hayward leaves, he goes to Boston, my first year in Philly. And I guarded Donovan because they thought he wasn't a scorer. You know what I mean? And by the way, he was 3 for 21. I'm just going to point. He was 3 for 21.
There you go. Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like, man, I didn't even realize he shot that poorly. But at the time, I was like, man, this guy's fucking aggressive and he's twitchy and he's bouncing. He's got a handle. He's got a good looking shot. He's going to be a pretty good offensive player. I did not fucking know this motherfucker was going to turn into a 30-point per game scorer. I mean, he's legitimate. But my point about the defense thing is it is so hard to me to exert that level of effort on offense and then do the same thing on defense, especially in today's NBA. It's just the amount of ground you have to cover, particularly as a wing defender, point of attack stuff, it's just hard, man. It's really hard. I'll give him a pass. I know he's engaged defensively. I'm not knocking the engagement. I'll give him a pass on that.
But the speed of the NBA has just gone up like crazy, right? I mean, it's so much more possessions than it's ever been. So, like you said, give him a pass. Yeah.
Have you felt that as a big?
It is a little bit. Because as a big, I was thinking about it. If you start in the middle of the court, you got to run to the other baseline for offense. Run back to the 3-point line to set a screen. Run back to the baseline for the lob. And do it all on the other end to guard the same thing. And it's like, think about it. Most teams try to shoot 4:14 on the shot clock now. So it's just so much faster.
I'm really excited about this. The 342 office space is really starting to come together. We have a ton of art and photos of our favorite basketball moments, all framed on our walls by our good friends at FrameBridge. FrameBridge makes it easy and affordable to custom frame just about anything, and they have. Also, FrameBridge is fast. They ship your finished frame directly to your house in just days. We just hung up this hilarious photo of Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic on draft day. I'm looking at it right now, and they're both so young. Shout out to FrameBridge for framing this with a one-of-a-kind frame for a one-of-a-kind photo. FrameBridge uses the highest quality materials, and the best part, FrameBridge has a happiness guarantee. Yep, if you're not 100% happy with your piece for any reason, they'll make it right. Pretty cool. FrameBridge has framed over 2 million pieces and counting, so if you have something you'd like to be hung, like this picture of Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic in our office, visit framebridge.com or a retail store to custom frame just about anything. Let's talk about well-crafted clothes and laid-back vibes. Let's talk about Faherty. Faherty is a family-built, values-driven brand that crafts clothes for life's great moments, whether that's an all-day surf session, a road trip with your family, a trip to the driving range, or a bonfire on the beach. And if you're new to the brand, you have to check out their Movement collection. They've got the new Movement dress shirt, which is everything you love about the original, but with a longer length so you can tuck it in, and a true spread collar so you can wear it with a tie. And you all know I have to sport a suit and tie to call games, so these Movement shirts have been a game changer for me. For listeners of the show, Faherty brand is offering 20% off your first order when you enter the promo code OM3 at checkout. Go to faherty.com/JJ and check them out. That's FAHERTY brand.com/JJ for 20% off your first order with code OM3.
With your expectations heading into the playoffs this year based off of the Knicks series last year, what do you feel like the next couple months look like you guys from just like a prep standpoint?
We're already prepping for it. Like film sessions, anything we do on court, we try to do it all to get ready for the playoffs. So we try to make sure things are crisp. We try to make sure all the little mistakes are taken care of. It's just everything that we've done is predicated towards playoffs.
Speaking of playoffs, I mentioned the young guys, Garland, Mobley, going through it for the first time last year. I want to ask you about the Knicks series in a second, but you had been in the playoffs before. You actually played against us as a rookie with the Brooklyn Nets. And if I'm not mistaken, it was your body, your face. Was it your face, your head that caught a wayward Joel Embiid that started a legitimate scuffle with Jared Dudley, right?
Jared Dudley, Jared Dudley, my man.
When you're a rookie stepping into your first playoff series and you're going against Joel Embiid, how difficult is that?
Oh man, it was just like to know every single night that you have to play Joel Embiid, and then after that game, go again. After that game, go again. I just put my head down, just went to work. You know, the more you think about it, the more it's going to be on your mind, and you're going to be like, "Oh, I got this horrible matchup for me."
I felt like, you know, I want to say that was not the first time he had connected with you in that series.
Right.
There was a little bit of like, the bully. I feel like there was a little bit of the bully that he was trying on you. Did you feel that?
I mean, I was scrawny. I was the scrawny kid coming into the league. I don't blame him whatsoever.
Did you have a favorite moment from those Nets teams? Because the fan base, I mean, I feel like the fans here still talk about them, and
Right.
you're sort of held in this regard that, you know, not many teams are.
Honestly, my second year there, we just had this vibe about us where we were just going out and playing, having fun. I mean, there's this clip of us just shooting threes. Everybody's dancing on the sideline. We're having the time of our lives. We're the best team, no, but we were enjoying ourselves and playing hard and winning.
It's funny you brought up JB and the shift that he has had to make between a development coach and a coach that has to win now. In some ways win. I know you guys have a long runway, but you're in a position to win now. And Kenny was in a similar position where when him and Sean Marks took that job over, it was like an impossible situation because of the lack of assets that had gone away. The roster wasn't great as it was. And so they built this culture. Being there in the early stages of that with Kenny, what were some key takeaways for you in terms of the development of not only just the skill sets of the players, but developing a culture?
Just having everybody buy in, honestly. When you get teams like that where the future is iffy, you don't know where you're going to go. I mean, I feel like it's easy to just go your own way and hope to get traded or, you know, sign somewhere else in free agency. But I genuinely believe that, like, we were all bought into Kenny and his system and just trying to make things work with what we had. And it was easy for me, at least, to do it. It seemed like everybody was buying in, having fun, willing to get better for the team we had.
To go from those sort of 2 years, and again, this is not a sort of knock on DeAndre at all because he's a close friend, where you feel like you're growing, and then they come in and they sign DeAndre, and you know he was starting for I think most of that year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for you, just the adjustment of being in that culture, and then those free agents coming in, and all of a sudden there's a whole new set of expectations.
Right. I mean, that was a big shift. We went from barely making the playoffs to now having two superstars, KD and Kyrie, on the team. And then DeAndre Jordan comes in to take the starting spot. Like you said, nothing bad for DeAndre. I'm still, after every game, go up to hug him. Great guy. It was just a big shift for me. That's something I never had the experience before. But I was able to make it through. That's the best way I could put it.
Were you surprised that you were in the trade? I also just want to point out real quick. So you were in a 3-team trade. Houston got some players and some picks. You got rerouted to Cleveland, correct? Were you surprised that you got traded? And also, how did you sort of approach that new opportunity going to Cleveland?
No, because, I mean, Woj is the man that knows everything. So
you were following the trade rumors?
I mean, at the time, everybody's on Twitter. Everybody knows what's going to happen, you know? So I just didn't know it was going to be Cleveland. And I'm like, okay, I get to go home, back to Texas, back to Houston, you know, see the family. And then, you know, Sean calls me and he's like, you going to Cleveland? I'm like, okay, why not? Cleveland of all places, but still making the best of Cleveland. Love it here. But I was able to make an identity. JB, not saying he handed me the keys, but he's like, go out there, have fun, play your type of basketball. Like, don't be restricted by trying to fit into our system. Just go out there and be yourself.
Were there lessons from your rookie year, your sophomore year, that you were able to pass on to a guy like Evan? You know, we've talked a ton about how the sky is the limit for him potential-wise. Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious where you think his game is going to go, but then also just what you were able to sort of talk to him about as he's, you know, he's still only 22, as he's growing as a player and as a person.
For me, just try to give him all the confidence that he can have, especially like he was a number 4 pick. Being more on the raw side, you know, still having to be developed. People are going to eat that up. People are going to try to, you know, put out stuff oh, he's not developing, oh, he's not going to be the superstar that we think he's going to be. But that's not going to happen overnight. I try to just tell him, like, just keep working after every bucket. It's a great shot. Just try to keep his confidence up.
Are you guys encouraging him to shoot more threes?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time he shoots, yeah, we want him to shoot threes. I mean, every time he shoots them, especially nowadays, I think it's going in easily.
I was gonna ask about the expectations. We were talking about this before today. We saw the comments that Donovan made about Darius. I believe either yesterday or today. Does it feel now more with both where you guys went last year and then just how well you've played so far this year that the expectations have shifted internally? And does it feel like there's an added pressure that you have to address a little bit?
Yeah, when you start winning, the pressure goes up, the expectations go up. Everybody wants to see more out of you guys. Everybody wants their dream of what the team could be to be true, and that just doesn't happen right away. So there's definitely more pressure. There's definitely more expectation, but we're still doing our own thing. We're still riding our own wave.
Brian Windhurst last year on this podcast, he said that maybe it was on Get Up or one of those ESPN shows. I was on the show with him. That's all I know. He said the Cleveland Cavaliers, this was going into the playoffs, Cleveland Cavaliers are a championship contender on a spreadsheet, right? You guys, for the last 2 years, have graded out really well metrically. Offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you sort of, talking about expectations, did you feel those expectations last year going into that first round series against the New York Knicks? And also, what were sort of the takeaways from that series for you and for the group?
Right. I didn't really feel the expectation. I feel like at that point we're still growing, but we made the Donovan trade in the late summer last year. So, I mean, we still haven't had our team around for a while. We still haven't made a building block of what we are. For me, no, I'm not the best person to ask for that. I'm not the type of person to feel pressure, to be honest with you.
You have the sanctity of your kitchen. You know what I mean?
Right.
We all need that. I wish I had golf. I didn't start golfing until I retired, and I wish I had golf as a player. God, I would have been the anxiety just would have been so much lower.
Is the kitchen your safe space?
Yes and no. I have a game room that I'm in right now, my office.
Are you still building computers or no?
Not so much. That stuff's got expensive. So inflation, man, it slowed me down.
Do you know if there's any other NBA player that's built a computer?
I don't.
Jared, do you know that?
Let's see. No, not really. I know a lot that play games, but
Did you take STEM? I mean, I know you were not at University of Texas very long. Did you take STEM classes at St. Stephen's in high school in Austin?
No, YouTube University. That's where I learned all my stuff. YouTube.
God,
that's awesome.
You know what's? God, I wish we would have been teammates at some point. The conversations you and I would have had on the bus. The conversations you and I had on the bus. Going back to the Knicks, my second question was just for you and the group. Like, there was a physicality, I think, particularly in that series with the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
They have been now for 2 years. They've just been an elite offensive rebounding team.
Right.
Just the takeaways that you had from that series and the lessons learned.
Yeah, like you said, they're a great offensive rebounding team. Mitchell Robinson, but at one point I felt like he was averaging 10 offensive rebounds a game this year. That's what he does. That's his specialty. But it just showed us, like, there's going to be a different physicality level in the playoffs. Every single thing you do, you're going to get bumped every single time. You can shoot a free throw and just be expected to be bumped. Just be ready for anything.
As you guys sort of look forward to the playoffs this year, and you mentioned that you're already sort of preparing for this, and the fact that I like that you brought up the fact that there is a lot that is asked of the modern big man. I mean, it's funny because you talking about sprinting into a pick and roll on offense, then rolling, sometimes having to come back up and do a second pick and roll late in the shot clock, then rolling, then having to do it on the other end. I immediately thought of DeAndre. So there's like all these through lines in this conversation right now that are hilarious.
Right.
But as you look forward, I think for me, the one guy that has made such a difference in the Eastern Conference this year has been Kristaps Porzingis with Boston.
Right.
And so, that's someone that I don't know exactly how you guys have matched up full time, because I know some teams will play a smaller guy on him and put the center on Drew, right? That's been a common occurrence. But for him, his ability to sort of pick and pop and also post mismatches, how much has that unlocked their team in your eyes?
So much. I remember when we played against them, the pick and pop is crazy. If I stay with the screen or the guard, he pops, great shooter, gonna knock it down. If we switch, he likes to post up at the elbow. So he's gonna do 2 dribbles and spin and try to draw the foul. I remember it perfectly. So it just opens it up for everybody. JT is going to do what he does. Jaylen Brown's going to do what he does. Even Al Horford just spotting up in the corner. It's a dangerous sight to see.
Yeah, I think the number was 27 feet, the average 3-point attempt from Porzingis. So it's like, again, it's like how the best way to play that, if you're not going to just straight switch, I would think, is the late veer. Right, because the guard, a Derek White or a Drew or a Tatum in pick and roll.
Right.
Kristaps has rolled more, I think, on that second side with Jaylen Brown in their dribble handoff and side pick and roll game. But up top, he really looks to pop in that spread. And I really think the best way to probably defend it is that late veer with the guard. The problem is the closeout is still so long because he's creating so much space because he's spotting up at 27 feet.
Right. The ball's 8 feet in the air, so it's not like you're going to get a good contest either.
The ball's 8 feet in the air.
Jarrett, have you noticed in your still relatively short time in the league just the level of growing skill among the bigs, whether it's Joker, Sabonis, Şengün, you can name a bunch of different options of sort of what we're talking about, but just like how every night you're not getting the same look, and just how you're sort of adjusting to that on the fly, knowing these things are going to be different.
Right. That's a great way to put it. I feel like every night, Sabonis, Joker, Embiid, even for me, Giannis, every single night it's a different type of big that you have to guard. It's no longer just a screener and roller. The deep drop that used to always be in my rookie sophomore year, I'm no longer in it. You got to be up for bigs that are going to pop. Like, just the evolution of the game of this era of basketball, it's just changed so much already.
I think one of the things that's interesting about that, because it's a great question, Tommy, and also a great response. I think we are seeing more of a variance in what drop coverage looks like. And that deep drop, if you're gonna play it, you better have a point of attack defender that can really navigate the pick and roll, because all these guards now are shooting pull-up threes. And when we first started running drop, I remember in 2016 with the Clippers, it was like, we want to run drop because analytically we want to force a 15 to 17 footer with a rear view contest. And we're willing to live with that over and over again. We want to stay out of rotation. We don't want to bring the low man over. And so it's like, okay, that's great. Now all these guards are so fucking good that they're shooting threes. And it's like, well, that's, and the 3-point percentage league wide off the dribble is gone up. So it's like, that's no longer analytically necessarily the right play based on which team you're playing. And so the importance of having someone like Derek White, or if it is Isaac Okoro for you, someone who can navigate those pick and rolls and still get that contest on those off the dribble threes, or sometimes in some cases deter it altogether, is the only way I think you can play a deep drop now. Am I off on that?
No. I think that's exactly it. You know who had a great deep drop? Milwaukee, when Drew was still there.
Yes.
Because Brook Lopez would always be in a super deep drop.
The deepest of drops, I would describe it. The deepest of drops.
The deepest of drops.
Couldn't be any deeper.
And then you have Drew Holiday at the top, this excellent defender we all know. the synergy between those two, it would just work perfectly. That's one of the few examples nowadays where teams are still in the super deep drop.
Yeah, Porzingis is most of the time in that very deep drop. Actually, I've called a few games, but I actually went to a Boston game in November against Toronto, and the other night he did it twice. Scott Foster has called 3 defensive 3 seconds on Kristaps Porzingis when he's been the defender in drop coverage in a pick and roll.
Wow.
Which I didn't even know was a rule, but apparently it's a rule. I played my whole career not knowing. I thought if you were the defender in drop in a pick and roll, like the defensive 3-second rule didn't apply, but definitely applies to Scott Foster and Kristaps Porzingis.
Oh, Scott, man.
Joe, we were talking about this the other day. What's your feeling on them getting rid of defensive 3 seconds?
I don't like it. I'm for having that type of rule in the game because personally, I know I would abuse the hell out of it. That's what we want on our team. They want me to stay in the paint as long as possible. So if I know I'm going to abuse it, I know somebody else is going to do far worse with it.
Yeah. Speaking of that, before we get to the draft here in a second, I wanted to ask you about your mindset around contesting dunk shots.
Okay.
Because I'm asking personally because I'd never had to have that mindset. If I wasn't in a position to take a charge outside the restricted area, I'm making business decisions, right?
Right.
I'm not jumping. Obviously, you have a job to do in protecting the rim, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
In the moment, what's going through your head? When you get dunked on, what's going through your head afterwards? When you get the block shot, what's going through your head? I want to know about the mindset around being a big whose job it is to protect the rim, knowing that sometimes someone's going to catch a body and sometimes you're going to win.
Right. Well, first, it's part of my job to contest everything, whether I like it or not. I'll tell you the one thing that's gotten me through it, mainly. My one saying, either way, you're going to be on the highlight. So make it count. That's what I've always, you're going to be on the good end and have a block, or you're going to be on the bad end and get dunked on. But you're going to be on the highlight either way.
That is a great answer.
Great way to close.
That is a great answer. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401k's 3% match. Requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. A big thank you to our sponsor, SoFi, the official bank of the NBA. They're the next generation of banking, joining the league to help fans get their money right. I love SoFi checking and savings because you can earn more money on your money, up to 4.6% APY on your savings, which is 10 times the national average savings rate. In just 5 weeks, the money sitting in your SoFi savings account is earning more money than it would in 1 year with a big bank savings account with direct deposit. Get paid up to 2 days early, pay no account fees, and you can cash in on up to $300 when you sign up with direct deposit. Terms apply. Visit SoFi.com/banking for full details. SoFi is also running the Zero giveaway all season long. Each week, one lucky fan will get $10,000. I said it, $10,000 added to their bank account thanks to SoFi. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen to enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open only to legal U.S. residents 18 and over. Visit SoFi.com/0 for official rules. This ends June 23rd, 2024. Thank you, SoFi. All right, let's get into the draft. I'll explain the draft in a second if Tommy already hasn't explained it to you. But before we begin, we wanted to give a shout out to New Era, the official cap of the NBA, now the official headwear of OM3. You can support your favorite team by wearing the same caps that the players do, or show off your personal style with exclusive drop shop headwear and apparel and get 10% off when you go to neweracap.com and use code OLDMAN at checkout. That's 10% off your order using promo code OLDMAN. Some exclusions apply. Visit neweracap.com/OM3 if you want to see Tommy and my favorites. All right, the draft. We've got 5 selections each. It is a snake draft. Guest always goes first. You have the first overall pick. Tommy goes second. I then take third and fourth. It snakes back to you. You get 2 picks until we all have selected 5 picks. Tommy, what is the draft topic for today?
Honor of our guest, we are drafting baked goods. Jarrett, start.
Whoa. I just want to establish one thing real quick because I did prepare for this and I had some stuff that I thought was maybe questionable. When you say baked goods, are we talking pastries only? Or is it any baked item?
Baked goods. Any baked item.
Okay.
Any baked
item, period. Jarrett, start it off.
You know, choosing French things are always the craze right now is number 1 picks. So I'm going to go with a croissant.
Plain,
just a good croissant.
Do you have a favorite croissant? It can be internationally.
When we went to Paris, I'm not gonna lie, I crushed croissants. It was it was not healthy how much croissants I had.
They do know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I think that's a safe number 1 pick. That's a safe number 1 pick for sure.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most popular baked goods if you were to just do a straight up number breakdown.
Yeah, that's the Greg Oden of number 1 picks.
Wow.
Still feel no, I'm just saying I still feel like there's a Kevin Durant out there.
Ooh.
Absolutely. All
right. I'm taking it off the board. I'm going molten chocolate cake.
Wow.
My first. Warm cake, gooey center. Kylie and I were talking about this before. She says that's the thing that her favorite thing she bakes is a version of a molten chocolate cake. I think it's the best dessert. If we were drafting desserts, it would be my favorite dessert as well. But for baked goods, that's number 1.
You know what's interesting about your selection? I feel like that is a very specific need. You drafted for need. You did not draft best overall prospect here.
See, Jarrett, see what you got yourself into. Let's see, he's got 2.
We're really getting into this.
Yeah, he's got 2. So,
all right. I'm also just going to draft my first pick. I feel like with the 3rd selection, I'm going to draft something that you can't beat, and that's just a bagel, a great bagel.
Ooh, okay.
Wait.
It's versatile. It's versatile.
Jared, what do you think about him dumping on croissants as the
I didn't dump on croissant.
As the Greg Oden of the draft while picking a bagel as the first pick?
But think about this with a bagel. You can make a great breakfast sandwich. You can make a great lunch sandwich. Shout out to Sadel's in Soho. If I'm ever in Soho, any point in time before noon, I stop by for their lox and bagel. Phenomenal. You can get them all over New York City. Bagel, I prefer everything bagel, but a bagel for me. And then for my 4th pick, or for the 4th pick and my 2nd pick, I don't know how to say this. I just know that I love it. And if it's ever in a nice pastry shop, it's my number 1 choice. And that is Konamon, Kouign,
this is a good pick.
AMANN. It is a French pastry that originated in Brittany, France. It's yeast leavened dough with a lot of butter and sugar. It's phenomenal.
That's a hell of a combo.
Yeah, it's a great. I don't know how to pronounce it either, but that's a legit pick. Those are incredible.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going. I can't believe this is still here after all these picks. I'm going number 2. I'm going soft bake chocolate chip cookies.
Oh,
okay. See,
I would actually add in this, just to be specific. Not everyone probably is. I don't think this is a must for this. So my pick is soft baked chocolate chip cookies, but I don't know if you guys have had tahini chocolate chip cookies. when there's a hint of tahini in it, it makes it even better. But my pick is just soft
What's the
baked
spot
chocolate
here in New
cookies.
York that has the tahini?
Apartment 4F.
The Apartment 4F.
Yeah, Jarrett, when you're here next, we'll all go there. It's croissants and chocolate chip cookies. That's all it is. It's in Brooklyn Heights.
I cannot wait to see Jarrett Allen waiting in line for 45 minutes
Apartment 4
to get a tahini chocolate chip cookie on Montague Street in Brooklyn Heights. I cannot wait.
This is happening whenever you guys are here.
All right, Jarrett, you have 2 picks. I like the pick, Tommy. Applaud the pick.
I'm filling out the team here. I need somebody that can do everything. I'm going to go with a good loaf of bread. Keeping it simple.
Kind of bread?
Underrated pick, because I had that on my list.
What kind of bread, though? I think we just need a little.
Just white bread. Good PB&J bread. Good BLT bread. Whatever bread you need it for.
When I think of my childhood, I think of my mom's baked goods. I'm not going to name all of them, because I may select some of them later, and I don't want to give Tommy any ideas.
There you go.
But when she would make fresh baked bread and it would come out of the oven, we'd wait a few minutes, slice it up, and put some butter on it. Oh my God! Stop it! Stop it!
It's a good pick. You guys are going very broad, but this is smart because you can put a lot into this. So these are, yeah, it's a smart croissant and loaf of bread
and bread.
I got a good one next for you guys. I got a good one. Baklava. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you said that right. That's a good one.
That's also one of my mother's specialties. God,
that's a really good one.
I'm in
your bringing back my childhood here, Jarrett.
Can you make this, Jarrett? Can you make baklava?
No, I haven't even tried. That just seems like a long task.
Did you ever do the thing where you baked your own bread like people were doing during COVID, like sourdough or anything like that?
Not sourdough, but I did just white loaf of bread. I'll still do it to this day.
I like it. All right. My third, I'm going cheddar biscuits.
Okay.
Does that take just a normal biscuit off the board? I want to be clear here, because I don't like cheddar biscuits, but I love biscuits.
I think you could pick a normal biscuit after this. I wouldn't recommend it personally. I don't think Ryan would be happy with you following my pick with a worse version of the same pick, but you're welcome to do it.
I think the specificity of 2 of your 3 picks is really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's either going to blow up in my face or I'm going to win. I'm definitely living dangerously with it.
All right. God, I just want to pick everything that my mother used to make. I'm going to go with apple cobbler. Apple cobbler. I know a lot of people would say, why did you pick apple pie? I don't like apple pie. I think apple pie is very mid. Apple cobbler, fresh out of the oven, when it's hot, with a scoop of vanilla ice cream is an unbeatable combo, and I don't like fruity desserts. But again, my childhood, my mother would make a great apple cobbler.
Take.
Controversial.
You think it's controversial? I want to hear your take on that.
Apple pie is like an American staple. That's like, you see it in shows, you see it everywhere. I'm just throwing my 2 cents.
Apple pie fits with the white bread and the croissant.
This guy drafted a croissant, bread, and baklava. I can't wait for the next 2 picks. The variety of selections.
I'm ready.
And then I'm going to take this one off the board, because I think a great slice of quiche is also unbeatable. So I'm going to go quiche.
Plain quiche or anything in it?
What's the one with like the piece of ham? The quiche Lorraine?
Lorraine.
Yeah, I'll go quiche Lorraine.
Took my pick. Not gonna lie. Took my pick.
I'm surprised it lasted this long, to be honest.
I don't like quiche, but I respect it. Quiche is very popular.
Yeah.
That will be well received. Oh, my 4th pick, I'm gonna go. I was gonna go more specific, but based off the way this draft is going, I think I'm just gonna go broad with cornbread. Nice warm piece of cornbread, a little butter on top.
Yeah.
Man.
Goes with everything.
I really like where I'm at right now in this draft, not gonna lie.
Okay. A great piece of cornbread is truly great. No problem there.
This could have been a number 1 pick.
Here's my only issue with cornbread is that when it's not good. It's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Whereas, like, be honest with
But
you.
how often is it not
like
good?
a bad bagel's fine.
But how often?
The difference between a bad bagel and a great bagel, there's not much disparity. Cornbread,
But if you go to a restaurant and they have cornbread on the menu, odds are it's elite. Not just good, it's elite.
I've had some bad cornbread recently. I'm not going to lie.
If you get
had some
dry
bad cornbread.
Bread, no, dry and sandy. That is
Dry
just,
sandy cornbread is whack. That's it. You are right about this. I can't deny it. I'm just saying my cornbread that I'm picking is top of the line cornbread.
All right.
For mine, surprised nobody said it. Brownies. Nobody said brownies.
I can't believe that. I can't believe all these things went before brownies.
What kind of brownies do you like, Jarrett?
I'm a more fudgy type of brownie guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not the cake brownies.
That might be the best value of this fourth round brownies.
I know.
It's crazy.
God, I don't want anything back. I don't want anything
like
back.
that.
But brownies,
Jarrett
great pick.
You got yourself back in this with that one.
Yeah. And
all right,
I'm
close it
gonna
out.
go with I might have to stash this pick, but a chocolate babka.
Chocolate
Jewish
what?
bread babka.
Okay.
I might have to stash it, but I'm all for it. Just give it a couple years to develop. I think everybody's going to be on the fad.
Great pick. It's very funny looking at your picks, though, that you went so broad for 3, and then you did the baklava and the babka.
Yeah. The chocolate babka. Yeah.
It's a very good pick, though.
It's a great pick.
Do you have a favorite one?
I'm gonna go with the baklava. If you have it at the right time, warm, it's unbeatable. It's unbeatable.
I like it. All right, I'm closing out 5th round. Cannot believe this is still here in the 5th round. Just got to take it up the board. I'm going blueberry muffin.
Oh, okay.
The fact that you drafted blueberry muffin in the 5th round over cornbread.
I was just
Blueberry
waiting.
muffin was just outside my top 5.
I was waiting to see if it was going to last.
I cannot believe it lasted till the 5th
Blueberry
round.
muffin, and that is great value in the 5th round.
Great value in the 5th round. Great value.
I don't know. I'm not a blueberry muffin guy.
It's a hater.
For my 5th pick, damn it, man. The blueberry muffin thing fucked me up.
Threw him off.
Really fucked me up. I'm going to be honest with you. What I want to draft.
If you had the muffin right now, you'd be in good shape.
I want to draft.
I'm not going to lie.
Jarrett, I want to draft baked lasagna just to fuck with Tommy because he hates lasagna.
I hate lasagna.
Yeah.
Which is the weirdest thing because great lasagna is.
I love pasta and I hate lasagna.
Baked lasagna is so good. Come on now. I'm not going to take that though. Because I think I have a little bit of a sweet tooth today. I want one more sweet item. And I'm going to go with a pastéis de nata, which is a Portuguese custard tart. Very famous in Lisbon.
He's showing off now.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal.
He's showing off. This is going to be one of those picks. I've never had this. This is going to be one of those picks that 9 out of 10 people will have never heard of it, but the 10th will be obsessed with it.
Yes.
And we'll freak out about it. The other 9 will be like, I don't know what the fuck that is.
Pastéis de nata.
But the 10th, whoever's been to Portugal who's had this thing will love it. So
I did go to Portugal last April for my kids' spring break. So it's a fairly recent.
I like the boldness of the pick, even though I have no idea what it tastes like or
it's so good. All right, this has been the draft presented by New Era. And Jarrett, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Been a great guest. Always root for you, man.
See you soon, man.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.